that why do you want to do that? Okay, why do you need to understand a client's business? So important things to know here are that clients don't know which legal services they need when you're going to a new client. Okay, if a client comes to you with a very specific query, it's a different thing. Over time, when you build a relationship with the client, sometimes they start to identify all these needs much better. Okay, but when a new client comes, a lot of times they would not know which legal services they need. Okay, they don't exactly know, and they also don't know how lawyers price. Okay, so when I go on a website and I take purchase a software, it will tell me, these are the things we provide you, this is how much it costs, and this is why you would need this. Okay, but a client wouldn't know this for legal services, which is where the opportunity is there for us to step in. Now they are afraid of lawyers, and what do they do at that moment? They are afraid of, costs being unlimited. They think lawyers are cost centers, so they want to just first cap costs. So they will say that give me a quote for your retainer. This becomes a problem, right? Second, now return on investment for a client from legal work is not clear. There are 3 types of legal work for which the return on investment is very clear for clients. Which ones? Bail, tax, and doing business when it's about a contract. Okay, 3 pieces of work. But a lot of times they think that some of the other work is standardized, and for them it's just a cost head. Okay, when they can see that legal work is helping them recover payments or reduce disputes or do business better. Okay, it reduces, let's say, legal notices you got from the other side. All of that helps, or it's helping them get a new contract because they are able to sell to the government, let's say. And that is something that is valuable for them. Now, when the ROI from legal work is not clear, however, when you say that, I charge this much per petition, I charge this much per filing, but they can't see end to end how a particular problem is getting resolved. The risk is of having to provide to them everything at rock bottom prices. Okay, and that's where the problem arises. Okay, and at everything at rock bottom prices would mean clients would say, give me everything, what's your retainer? They'll cap the cost, say everything I need needs to be in this much, and then you'll realize that you can do 5 out of 10 things because things are taking too much time to do properly. So you will feel that your value add is not being appreciated. Okay, that's what you want to avoid. Clients do not have a way to value your legal expertise in comparison to others. Others meaning other lawyers. Okay, so what happens is that you might have 20 reported judgments in your name. Does that mean you're a contract drafting expert? Okay, does that mean you can do a different kind of matter better? They don't know all that. Okay, they don't know what questions to ask you to understand how good you are. But yes, if you can engage with them on the problem they are facing or help them identify a need or a solution or a problem, then they will value your expertise. Okay, so what happens is that if we say I'm so famous, I'm so good, there are so many judgments in my name, I've been quoted in the newspapers, it might not always inspire trust at a personal level for a client. Okay, so they find it easier to trust if you can understand their business problems in their language, not your language, their language. Okay, so let's see what their language is. Right? So that's going to be there here in what are the questions to ask. The first question is, and I'm going to make this a bit interactive. Okay, I'm not going to rush through this. What are the industry and business basics? Okay, this is what you need to ask. So what is the business size, the age? How many years have you been doing this? Is it incorporated? Is it not incorporated? Okay, are there any personal loans lent by anybody who are any founder or friends or relatives? What are the number of customers or clients that you have? Are there seasonal revenue trends? Do subscriptions increase in a particular time? Okay, various industries are seasonal, right? Like wedding industry, for example, is seasonal. Winter in India, winters is a time when weddings boom, right? And similarly, if there's education for adults, you will notice that when there's summer vacation for schools and colleges, basically May, June, that time there'll be a peak in enrollments of working population in that time. Okay. So are the revenue trends seasonal or not? Are there any new What are the revenues like? That will give you a size of the business. Okay, your billing should not be based on the size of the business, but on the basis of the value add that you're doing. Okay. Are there any new products or service offerings planned? And this is step 1. Next is, what is the business model of the client? There are many business models. One is a business to business, like one institution selling to another. So if you're selling to corporates, it's a B2B model. If you're selling to individuals, it's a B2C model. That individual may be working in a corporate, that's a different thing, but it's a B2C model. If you are like co-branding something and then selling a combined product to a customer, so then it's like a B2B2C model. Okay. So you have to see what the model is, because that will influence the number of relationships and the number of parties involved, and also the number of disputes that can arise from this relationship. Is the revenue model is subscription based, or is it through lump sum payment? Are there installment payments? Do customers have a financing option when they purchase your product? Okay, can they take a loan? Can they pay by EMI? Is there a risk of refunds or a question of refunds? What are the policies? Is there a bypass to these policies? These are the things that you need to understand, because there will be work around this. For example, if your product, if an e-commerce site is offering products and services which a customer can pay for, they may consider a tie-up with an NBFC, a fintech NBFC, which allows customers finance for these products. Okay, after appraisal of the customer's credit worthiness. But that means that there are 3 parties involved now, and these contracts become very different from regular contracts. So you want to identify all these so that you can identify where there's a need to do work. What's the vendors and supply chain like? Who provides products to you? Do you have some original equipment manufacturers, or are there consultants or employees who provide the services that your company promises? Who provides these? Okay. What are the terms that you have with them? Are there any cost mismatch issues, such as the fact that you need to pay them early, but the revenue from customers comes later? Or are there any other risks? Who decides if there's a dispute? Do vendors, does it ever happen that you sell a product to the customer, which is returned by the customer, so you have to pay the customer money back, but the vendor is already paid, so vendor is out of the chain? Do you want to link those two so that when there's a refund from a customer, you also adjust this from the vendor's payment? Do you need to do that in that industry? You can ask these questions. Okay. Now imagine, when I'm talking about this, imagine you're having a one-to-one conversation with a potential client who you're meeting in person or over Zoom. Okay. What's the distribution and sales effort like? How do you sell? Is it directly on your website? Is there a physical model? Are there distributors? Are there franchisees? Are there commission agents? What is the situation like? Are there third parties? Okay, do you have any bulk deal offers? If people buy in 20, or a company buys, or an institution buys, then do you have a bulk deal discount? What is the payment model for any commissions? How do you verify, okay, that a product has been validly sold by the commission agent? How do you stop an agent from working from a competitor? What if the agent starts out on his or her own? This is there in the coaching industry, right? In the test prep coaching industry, this has happened a lot, that all the superstar trainers who were taking classes for big MBA training institutes, they would locally start up their own brand after building a reputation, and that would lead to a loss for the company which had hired them. Okay. Now, how do you stop something like this from happening? For example, how do you stop distributors from just distributing from someone else at the same time? How do you insert exclusivity? Are there any other challenges you face in distribution? What's the investment and finance like in the business? Is it a bootstrap business? Meaning, is it run through the cash flows of the company? Internal accruals, basically, from profits. Okay. Is there external investment? What was the size of the previous external investment? Are there loans from friends and family or the founders? What's the timeline you're looking at for raising the next round of funds? Do you have an option to take loans? Are you considering that kind of an option? There are various schemes available under the government or by various banks, okay, for SMEs. So are you thinking of any of those, for whether secured or unsecured loans? That's your choice. What are your expansion plans? Are you looking at going to a new geography? Are you looking at a new product? Okay, how would you be expanding your revenues? Is there a new pricing model? Are you considering something like franchising to scale? How will you scale, basically? Is there a new customer segment you will target? Will you deepen, will you build your product distribution vertically? in the sense that will you enable customers to go through a ladder from low cost offerings to high cost offerings? Okay. What is the plan to increase revenues, and how will your valuation increase for the next round? So businessmen, entrepreneurs usually know what their plan is. How is the relationship between the team members governed? What is the documentation, or what are the terms between the co-founders? Okay, you don't need to know the terms, but how are those terms agreed upon? What is it like? What's the size of the team? How big is the key employee set? How many key employees are there? Are there ESOP plans? Are you facing are there ESOP plans? Are you incentivizing the best employees? Do you have people working as consultants with you? On what terms? Does a consultant, when they work for you, transfer IP to you? Or is that clear in this case for you? Do you have any paperwork for them? What if they do some work for you and they send the same thing to your competitor or to anybody else? Or what if they use it on their own in their work? Okay, how do you know that a consultant who's writing blogs or freelancer writing blogs for you is not also publishing those on his own blog? Okay, then how are you getting the best advisors? Do you have advisors? How do you have a model for appointing or engaging with advisors? What are the other challenges you face? Most businesses, like, is payment recovery a challenge? Are there defaults from customers? Are there disputes with suppliers? How are you incentivizing the best talent? In a startup stage, people face struggle in paying top market salaries to very highly qualified employees. So then they pay them through ESOPs. So are you using those kinds of tools? Are the ESOPs properly documented as per the law, or are they just like, have you made oral promises or written through letters? How are you retaining the best employees? Are you facing any problem of attrition? How are you preventing employees from leaking details to competitors? Have you explored the idea of selling to government? Government procures from startups which are registered, and startups have certain benefits there. Like, even if you're not the lowest bidder, up to 30% of the government's requirement can be procured through startups, but you will need to watch out for those tender forms, fill them up and bid. Right? So have you ever tried that? Because by selling to the government is a great way of building credibility, because all the big buyers will trust you when they purchase your product. Okay. Then the next question. Do you face any cash flow issues? Are there any cash flow mismatches? So this will be used later to figure out what kind of a legal tool or terms you can create to fix this. We don't have a direct answer, but you will ask these questions. Have you thought of raising finance through any other alternative mechanisms? Okay, again, like working capital, overdraft, or a term loan from a bank, or some other way, like SME listing on the NSE or BSE's SME listing platform. Okay, and is reduction of disputes one of the areas you want to work on? How do you plan to get advisors on board? If you are in a regulatory space, then what can you do to ensure that you are clear of the regulator's radar? Because sometimes regulators govern the terms you offer to customers, the pricing. Okay, sometimes they may offer you a standardized contract which you must administer to customers. Like IRDA, for example, if you're giving an insurance policy, has a 30-day look-through period, which means that if you take an insurance, pay the premium, within 30 days, you'll not get, often many insurers don't show you the full policy before. But even after you pay the premium, they'll send you the policy document. Within 30 days of it, if you find you don't want to take the policy, you can give it back and you can get the refund. This is as per IRDA's regulations. Okay. So now sometimes you might want to apply different terms for a particular entity, like Uber, Ola. When they would have started, they used to say we are aggregators, not governed by radio taxi regulations and all of that. So these things, now you have to identify in which sector is there a regulator present. How do you steer clear of that? And for some companies, that's very, very important. Okay. Now, when you do this, what happens is that you learn about the business. But what happens next? Okay. After you learn about the business, you can identify services to provide and you can prioritize them. This, in addition, now to this approach, you will need to have a certain amount of knowledge to be able to identify what service to mention. Like Employee retention doesn't have a direct correlation to a particular act. You'll have to figure out a mix of things. Incentivization of talent doesn't go in one place under Companies Act. You'll have to learn a few skills on contracts, corporate law, Companies Act, yes, ESOP plan creation, commercials, all of that. Okay, so knowledge is definitely required on a variety of areas. Now, the question is this, that how do you implement this approach? Okay, so I've not got to the solution part. I'm just using how to find the above things out. So you can have a discovery call. This is a very common feature in the coaching industry, where a free call is given to identify what the person needs. Okay, but a discovery call, this kind of a discovery call is very different from, it's not a passive one. So you don't say, what do you want? I'll give it to you. It's not like that. It's like you will be asking those questions, getting the answers, and then maneuvering to identify, okay, is this in place? Is this in place? Is this not in place? Like that. So are the contracts, is there some paperwork with your consultants? What happens if the consultant gives that to somebody else? Are you legally protected? They will say, no, I've paid the consultant. Then you'll say, if somebody plays fraud, then what do you do? So you can say, at least you need to have some paperwork to ensure that the IP is assigned to you. Okay, so these are the important points you will identify, which is important for the person as per his or her business model. So you can use these above questions in a Zoom meeting. And now, because of lockdown, people are more amenable to having virtual meetings. So that means your target area, target audience is all India and even global, as long as they are India focused. Then you can be, so therefore you're location neutral. You can invite the potential client to onboard key stakeholders. Sometimes it's their CFO, sometimes it's their internal CA, sometimes it's their partner or co-founder. Ask them to onboard them. You give them an opportunity to invite them also, if for this kind of a discussion. And in the meeting, drive to the identification of pain points for all of them. Right? You will be asking these questions, and you will be looking for some kind of alignment amongst the amongst the people on the other side on the fact that these are our actual pain points. Another way you can do this, okay, or in addition to a discovery call, you can offer a service such as a legal health checkup. Okay, the way to offer this is by saying that if you want to, when you identify that the other person wants to raise investment, you can say that when you raise investment, what's going to happen is that the investor is going to do a full-blown legal due diligence on you. And if they find loopholes, there can be issues that crop up. Like the deal can break, there can be valuation issues, a lot of gaps. And you know, it will definitely delay your fundraising cycle because you'll have to take time to fix those. So why don't I do that work for you beforehand? Okay. And I will review some of your documents. I'll review your documents and give you a plan as to how to fix things. I'll not fix for free, but I'll at least give you a report and I'll do a checkup. Okay, this will give you more access to the person's documents and all of that, right? To the person, the way the company functions, you will have even more information. So you have a full-blown idea on how to identify even more risks and give them inputs. Now you will have to do a follow-up process. These were the entry points. This is all free service. Okay, this is your hard work. Follow-up process. You can come up after your legal due diligence or your discovery call with a small report. Okay, I have combined it into a report plus roadmap, because there will be a report with a clear map. Okay, report will identify what you did, what you found, options as to what to do to fix things. Okay, and then the third will be a roadmap with the report which says that these 10 things need to be done to address this risk. Okay, and how do you apply these 10 steps? You need to give the timeline, you need to specify what is the activity to be done, and you need to identify the cost. How much will you charge for each item? You can give a breakdown of lump sum cost, you can give a breakdown of phase by phase cost, or you can give per item cost. Okay, a roadmap is a step-by-step engagement plan, and it will solve the entire problem. You can apply this in litigation anywhere. Suppose you want to evict a tenant, or have a home buyer, have a seller sell certain property to you after he has taken the advance. You think that he may be negotiating with other buyers to sell at a higher price, but you want to compel him to sell it to you. So you can either create a roadmap of 3-4 steps that we will take, and so that the person can see the actual benefit that he or she will have. Okay, benefit means the outcome. Okay, now you know that in a contentious issue, a lawyer doesn't guarantee an outcome, right? That's not the problem. You are not guaranteeing that the result will be obtained. You are linking your effort to the, you're correlating your effort to the end result, that I don't want this person, after having taken advance from me, to sell to somebody else. So here are 5 steps I'll take for that. Okay, or I want to ensure, or here are 10 steps to ensure that your legal due diligence goes smoothly. Okay, so that is what you can do with this. In this, you will charge an advance, you will ask for an advance to proceed. Okay, now this is another tool you can use at 2 steps. One is after the roadmap. If you don't get a confirmation, you can add this as either a free layer or a deeply discounted layer of service. And you can also use this here. With a discovery call, you can use a gateway service, okay, where people basically get a taste of your work, okay, and it enables you to interact more closely with your client, and also they can see how much you are able to communicate with them, how relevant your work is. Now I'm going to give you some examples of gateway services. Look at, for example, an employment or HR policy training for employees, okay, and you can also do a negotiation training for sales and business teams. You can do some training on dismissals and disciplinary proceedings for HR managers or in-house legal team and CS. You can do an IP training for content acquisition teams of a media company, IP contracts and disputes training. You can do a free legal health checkup, which we just talked about, or a post training for ICC members or management team or employee sensitization. Big law firms, for example, used to do dawn rate preparedness training or competition training or insider trading training for some of their corporate clients. Okay, you can also offer those services. Okay, if it's a brokerage or if it's a securities person, you can say how to, best practices to steer clear of SEBI notices. Those kind of things you can do. Okay, now after you do the gateway service, what happens is the person gets a taste of how you work. Go back to the roadmap. Then you can ask for commitment from the other side to charge and move ahead with the matter. After that, of course, it's up to you to deliver the service. Okay, now where do people struggle with delivery? You should know that most of the times our approach is reverse of what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm talking about pre-identification of need and priority, and you have to go prepared with all your skills and knowledge. Most lawyers who fail to get matters, the problem is that they say, we'll figure it out, we are lawyers, we can do it. And clients don't trust this. And most of the times the client has dealt with their problem so closely that they end up knowing as much or more than the lawyer. So, and they have less time. So in 5-10 minutes, they want the lawyer to understand it, or else they feel that the lawyer doesn't know enough. Okay. So you want to be prepared for the service and delivery stage. One is in this stage, you will serve and deliver, but the preparation doesn't happen in this stage. The preparation happens before. Okay. And those who deliver well would know the obstacles that will come up and how to solve those obstacles. That means you can't be doing stuff for the first time. But if you don't know something, you will have to learn it somehow, right? One way to learn it is through a simulated practice where you've done that work before. Whether it is drafting, planning, mock advice, compliance advice, all of that you can, litigation planning, pre-litigation notices, litigation drafts, you can do all of that ahead of time under the guidance of a trainer or a mentor who gives you feedback. Okay, but you have to make sure that none of this work in this stage is unrehearsed. Okay, and virtual rehearsal works because every pilot has his first flight, but before, when he got trained, there was a flight simulation. Thousands of flight simulations were undertaken on the ground, right? So that the first flight is not really the first flight. Okay, that's what you got to do. The other thing to keep in mind with your knowledge and skills is that you need to move a client from low value services like your gateway service, free services, right, to high margin services. A lot of people I speak to, I realize that, either they're doing only high margin work, so they're not able to have a catchment for the client. How do I get the client at a low cost entry point? Okay, and they are doing independent practice, so then they're dependent on networking with lawyers, and they're dependent on disputes arising, but they don't have end-to-end relationship with the client. Okay, so that is one side of the problem, where someone has a super high margin service but no intermediary service to actually get the client. And there are others who are only focusing on low margin services. Some examples are tax registration, annual filing work, okay, under any tax law or Companies Act, okay, or just a simple POSH training, okay, or trademark registration. You need to move to high margin services. After this, there is a lot of contract drafting, contract review, disputes advisory, pre-litigation work, disputes work. So all of that, okay, or corporate work, M&A work, okay, these become high margin. So you have to identify that whether you have enough high margin services up your sleeve or not, and it's going to count, because that will enable you to identify the lifetime value to increase the lifetime value of a client. For many lawyers, the lifetime value will be like 5,000 rupees for a client. Why? Because that's what I can do for my client, or 15,000 rupees. That's all I can do. But if I could add newer and newer high margin services, I could make that lifetime value 5 lakhs also. Depends on how much good work I can do for the client, because the client's business will also grow. At least 1 out of 5 clients will grow, and I will get the work accordingly. Plus a good client will refer other clients. So I need to be very clear about what all I can offer and how much value I can add to a client. Okay, so that will require me to stay one step ahead of the curve and the market. The next step now is to create a feedback loop. The feedback loop means you need to engage in thought leadership, so that people who signed up on your website or who inquire about you, hear about you from other sources, or through your emails, or through your LinkedIn posts, or through your videos, that this is the pain point in the industry, this is what is happening, these are the problems, these are some of the successes, these are some of the successful approaches adopted by clients. Okay, not your legal work, but this is how somebody solved some problem. Okay, now that means that somebody who came in touch with you and later went off gets reminded through your interactions in the network that you exist and you do this work, and they will automatically gravitate to you if they have a similar legal need. We discuss these strategies in detail in a 6-hour workshop on beat COVID and recession. It's happening next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, 7 to 10 p.m., 2 days, 6 hours, and only 500 rupees. Special price for lockdown. Now, what are the essential ingredients for this approach to succeed? Okay, one is industry and sector knowledge. Now, when we are training students in our courses, we're finding out that, like you could learn basic contract drafting skills, but you cannot draft technical contracts in any one sector, like IP contracts or media and entertainment contracts or software contracts are entirely different. Okay, similarly, corporate contracts are entirely different. So every sector has contracts which are very, very different. So industry and sector knowledge and commercial intent of every kind of party in a particular sector is different, and one needs to know that. Okay, subject knowledge usually extends to multiple practice areas today. Earlier, you might think that I do property matters. Okay, I do inheritance matters, I do family disputes and matrimonial work. Today, it's not like that. For the most successful people, we are seeing that there are trends in the industry which are showing that work is requiring lawyers to know a plethora of subject areas or a combination of subject areas. I'll give you an example. Okay, imagine you are working for a technology startup. Your work will be vanilla contract drafting plus technology contracts plus data protection. Okay, sometimes it will be contract drafting plus arbitration plus international commercial arbitration. These are all varieties. Okay, you talk to a regular arbitration lawyer, if he's not done international commercial arbitration, he'll say, I don't know this. Okay, now you don't have these combinations usually being commonly practiced by lawyers. Now what's happening is that many Indian startups are going global. Deal value may not be very high, but they will sell B2B basically to offshore clients, and the data protection rules there will be different. GDPR is followed in Europe, for example. Now, what happens is that the Indian startup needs to have a GDPR compliant contract, and you will also need to know some technology jargon, like what is an integration agreement, what is API, all of that. And when we teach technology contracts, we find that we spend a lot of time teaching all of this. And so industry knowledge plus the legal knowledge, and legal knowledge is cross-disciplinary now. And it's important because what's happening now is that if you're practicing in one area, you're getting work which involves you in multiple areas. Like a contract drafting lawyer may get work to decide on, say you may get this question that should I have my choice of law for arbitration in Singapore or UK? What's going to be the difference apart from my flight costs? Now it will be virtually done. So should I say UK or Singapore or Dubai International Financial Center? These questions arise. Okay. In fact, a classic example of this is the seat versus venue debate, which is there in Indian courts. Now that arises because the contracts lawyer doesn't know the arbitration principles of, how to draft an international commercial arbitration clause. And since 1970 in arbitration theory, it has been identified as a pathological arbitration clause. But legal training has not pivoted enough to contract lawyers to enable them to draft these foolproof clauses, which arbitration lawyers consider to be very basic. But today that is becoming increasingly important because clients are smart. They ask these questions. How is it going to be different? Okay. And if you're serving a startup, then you would need like business structuring knowledge, investment transaction knowledge, basic contract drafting knowledge, ESOPs, employment policies, tax issues, IPR, government contracts, arbitration, all of this integrated. There's a certain amount of integration you need in all of this. You cannot just blindly say this is corporate stuff, I don't know. Okay, it will exclude you from being able to cater to clients. Okay, it's like this. Yeah, and now that is where people sometimes benefit from an access to a library of resources, templates, mentors, a stockpile of study materials, because as a lawyer, it's not too hard to charge a client 15,000 or 30,000 rupees for a matter, even sometimes 50, 60,000. But what happens is if that matter requires me to have a good grip of 2 or 3 areas, I need instant access, otherwise I lose the client. Right? If I got a client query today, in 48 hours or 24 hours as a call set, I need to prepare with that area. I need that guidance. I need to talk to someone who has done it. Okay, so how can I access more than 50 mentors on this? How can I build a profile as a thought leader and 20 articles I can write on my area? Let's say it's white collar crime and directors' arrests. It could be any of that, right? So that's where an access to a library of resources and mentors is needed, which is there in some of our packages like litigation library, corporate law library, or master access. Okay, now in case any of you are interested, you can always reach out to our team to ask more about these packages and libraries. And I'm definitely inviting you to explore this methodology in more detail on Tuesday and Wednesday with me, where we discuss how to go high value and how to increase client conversions. Basically, the topic is how to beat COVID and the recession and get 2 new clients per month and move to an additional income of INR 50,000 per month. Okay, it's a very exciting topic. We did this early in the month and we got some great feedback, which is why I'm doing another edition of this. Of course, it's a 500 rupee concessional price, so feel free to look out for it. Okay, and over to all of you for questions and discussion. Yeah, so I'm looking at chat and Q&A. I do not have any questions at the moment there. But how can you implement this at work for yourself? And anyone can, okay? Law students who want to intern with startups can use this approach in an internship, and the startup will be your fan. By the time you graduate, if that startup succeeds, see, 1 in every 10 startups can succeed. 10% is the regular success rate of the startup. 1%, 10%, whatever, okay? Now, if 10% of the startups succeed, and by the time you graduate, you have a sitting job. So don't, you can appreciate the importance of this approach based on that. So I am going to invite you all to discuss which parts you can implement. What are your doubts? Where are you struggling? What can you use? Yeah. Mehraj, we have a lot of webinars on this, but startups are there now everywhere. Tier 2 cities, definitely every small town has it. You just type your city name and startup on Google, you will get addresses, you will get names. Your story may have covered it. All of that will be there. Right, so how to find clients is a very important one, Abhishek. And how you got to do that is you have to choose the area that you want to work on. You have to write about it. You have to build thought leadership around it. What is thought leadership? Very simple. Go online, write 10 blogs on one area, write on LinkedIn twice a day, put that on Twitter also. Okay, build your website. People who sign up on your website should get weekly emails from you. You can use Wix, W-I-X to do that. Okay, and keep doing this for 3 months. Okay, see how many people come to you. In our courses, in our contract drafting course, for example, people who've posted regularly for about 3 to 4 weeks, just posted on LinkedIn, published 1 article a month, have got multiple incoming client requests. Then they work with us on conversion. How do we ensure that the client is converts? Okay. And trust me, if you get a retainer of even 15,000 rupees per month, 4 clients, 4 such retainers means 60,000 rupees of income. What you need to figure out is how do you build that pipeline so that you can work enough on your business development and on your client servicing. But there is at least a 50-50 ratio on business development, which people don't do. Usually your client acquisition is attending a conference to learn or just asking people for work. Okay, that is not client development. Pratik, how to generate leads for your law firm, especially when you're entering into a new practice area? That's great, no? So ask your existing clients, firstly, if you have. I'm sure that's what you would have, existing clients in current practice areas. You would say that this is what we do. Start your thought leadership in that area also. If you're developing a new practice area, your partners, or if any new partners or associates have been hired, they would have had some experience on it, or you would be developing new insights. Keep sharing those. Same thing, Pratik. You have to make this into an incoming flow. How do you make it an incoming flow? You broadcast. You broadcast so that the people who are interested in your message will come to you, and then you will nurture it. What we discussed right now is the nurturing process. What we will do next, okay, Asta will schedule for that, is how to create a system for incoming client queries. That means how to get clients. Okay. Pratik, does this make sense? So thought leadership means what? Website, new subscription list. Okay, you can use Wix.com. There is a 3,000 rupee plan that they have. Configure, create your website. You can do it yourself. It's plug and play. Create emails for people who sign up. There's a sign up form you can configure. Create the disclaimer to ensure that the clients are not being solicited. Okay, so they can click on that and they'll get these emails. You'll send them some free checklists so that they can identify that, oh, this is what I need. Okay, and continue to post online, continue to maintain your blog, continue to write on your reported orders. Okay, very good, Pratik. This would be great. Abhishek, which countries are you talking about? Usually contract law is is common. Okay, so unless there is a non-compete whose validity you want to test, you would not face this kind of an issue. The only thing you will face is stamping or apostillization if that gets involved. There is no other requirement. And then corporate approvals, you know, most countries follow the same thing. The board or the company shareholders need to approve it. Okay, and you don't often write that in the contract. It is often written that all internal approvals or all shareholder and board approvals as necessary have been taken. Okay, all regulatory approvals have been taken. After that, you need to say to the client what are the local requirements, but local requirements people give to the local lawyer because you're not qualified to advise on that. Okay, so if a client says review it still for propriety and a foreign lawyer has done it, that you can do, but you can't advise on that. But you can draft a contract which is internationally applicable. Okay, keeping 2 jurisdictions in mind. USA, Canada, or England can be all very different, right? I'll give you an example. If you create Apple's terms of service, Apple has, there's a California consumer protection law which says that if your product is sold over $100 or $300, then you have to maintain it for 7 years. Okay, I have a very ancient iPad now. where I'm going to stop getting any upgrades next year. Even today, only the Safari works and the Apple's built-in email works. All apps have stopped working. Okay. Next year, I'll stop getting upgrades also. Now, that is what is meant here, that to that extent, you will need to read the local law. Otherwise, you don't need to. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Any learnings from you all? How can one do an internship by sitting at home and helping his or her? This happens. A lot of law students who are pursuing 𝘨𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀 courses do it. So you can get research assignments. You can also review drafts. In big firms, sometimes there are confidentiality issues, so they do not share. But a lot of lawyers, a lot of law firms are engaging virtual interns, sharing work very well. They make you sign a confidentiality agreement or a declaration, and that's sufficient. And then it works. You can do research. You can suggest things. You can help them write books. You can help them write blogs for their firm. A lot of this work happens. The benefits are tremendous, that you can use this period as internship experience. You couldn't have done running internships earlier because you'd have to travel to another city or work after college hours. Now in virtual, you can manage everything. So definitely, and from second month onwards for 𝘨𝘂𝘀 students, we also say to all the recruiters that, either if they are good, you pay them a small stipend of 5,000 rupees and then take it from there from the second month. Otherwise, you terminate the internship. Okay, so a lot of students start to get stipend also. So this works great. If you did not have internships, or if you had internships but you want to move towards a PPO, this is a great time to catch up on that. Okay. All right, everybody. Any other questions? PPT, it'll go on live on YouTube. You can see it then. We'll try to create some SlideShare account. Right now, we don't have a way to give access to PPTs. You are a law student. Can you access the workshop? Yes, 𝘨𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀𝑆, you can access the workshop. The link for the workshop, Astha will share in the chat. So leads online, Pratik, will be from the subscription form. Okay. And always give free checklists and stuff so that people can diagnose what they need. Okay. How to take payments? Ravi Shankar, I will just have Astha from my team share the link to the workshop. Astha, would you be able to do that? She'll share the link. How to take payments, meaning, Abhishek? You'll ask the client for an advance and keep taking, after that, you give them an engagement letter and then you keep raising invoices. After every stage, raise an invoice. Okay, so that it's broken down and there is no risk that, I've done so much worth of work and now there's a risk that the client may not pay me if something goes bad. Never let that happen. So if at that point in time the work was valuable, you should close that out. Raise the invoice, get it accepted. Meaning, Abhishek, there is international transfer is there. What is the issue? You can have a payment, they can transfer to your bank account directly. You can have a credit card, or you can have your payment gateway configured to take international payments also. Yes, you can take it from PayPal. There's a connection with the Indian PayPal account. But PayPal, I think, charges more commission. We'll have to check that how much commission it charges. Astha, not this workshop. The workshop for beat COVID and recession. How to create your own blog? Purnima, you should. So what is important for thought leadership? This is a very important question. Everyone thinks that they have to build their own blog. What you need to do is you need to have your own blog. That's good. But you keep posting outside as a guest blogger on that area. It doesn't matter whether the blog is owned by you as long as the post is written by you. So make sure you're writing and publishing on famous blogs that are widely read. And on your own blog, a condensed version of all of that should be there so that somebody who comes on your website can find out more about you. Okay, that much is sufficient. And on LinkedIn, you can author articles, but the thing is that you need to post in one place the full article. Everywhere else there can be a short summary. Okay. So Purnima, is this question addressed? Any other questions anybody has? So don't spam, Pratik. You do a look at how the big firms are doing. They have a regular disclaimer. They don't advertise. Don't purchase Google ads. Have a disclaimer. On Wix.com, there is a lightbox feature which they allow you to use in the paid plan. So you just configure the lightbox. Okay, after that, a client will get that thing, a visitor will get this, that you're not soliciting, they're coming there out of their own wish. So I'm not saying you tell everybody, right? Give me work, give me work. No part of the presentation said that. I always said that you will be writing about what you do. And then the people who reach out to you, you will be engaging with them. Okay, you will not be asking for work anywhere in your writing. You will be educating and sharing insights with your audience. You can create a YouTube channel also for that. Okay. All right, everybody. So cheers. And if there are no questions, then we'll complete this session. I'll be frequently taking more sessions. So see you in another session. And we will also have a session on how to generate incoming client queries. Then we'll take that up. What are the basic topics that everyone needs to master to pique their interest in your write-up and engage your clients? Meaning you want to engage clients and to get them interested to your writing. Your selection of topic needs to be important. Your identification of issues needs to be important. Most people write in a very technical case law and section based way. They don't write their own opinion. And if they write their own opinion, they go activist. So you have to focus on the problem and focus on challenges a lot more. Okay, and then offer what solutions are possible. Okay, and of course it varies on a case-to-case basis, so that space needs to be there. Purnima, yes, there is a course on introduction to legal drafting. Okay, Asna, can you share the link of the course that Vanita takes? Introduction to legal writing and drafting. Okay. So Vaibhav, now when you learn these skills, that has to be applied to every blog post you write. Okay, and every area requires a separate kind of training and mastery. Some kinds of topics that work are how-to topics. How to do X, how to do Y, how to ensure you're not arrested, how to steer clear of X. Okay, that is the how-to style. Another way is to write handbook. Okay, like handbook for this purpose. So you'll have a big set of things that they can do. Okay, very comprehensive one. Another could be a checklist. Okay, checklist for identifying if you are compliant with X. Checklist to identify if your IP is safe. Do employees sign an IP assignment clause? Do consultants sign one? Are interns, is there any information shared with interns that they keep on their machines? That way. Okay, so the checklist form is another. So there's a mix of tools and documents that you use for this purpose. Abhishek, I didn't understand the question. Purnima, this course will teach you. Do all the assignments that Vanita gives you. Make a handbook in the course. Okay. Publish a handbook. Publish a how-to article. Trust me, you will learn writing. Okay. After that, when you decide that this is, you can approach anyone in our team for a consultation. They'll guide you. You tell her that I want to identify my next area of interest, and they'll guide you on how to do this. Okay, they'll guide you on, because in each one of our courses, you'll be writing 1 article a month. If you take a diploma, you write 10 articles. If you take a 3-month course, you write 3 articles. So then you build it based on subject area. Right now, what you will learn is basic writing. Okay, and you'll publish some work, and one big handbook you will work on. Later on, you will work on specific subject matter writing. So the stuff I was talking about with respect to thought leadership, you will learn that. So you choose arbitration, or you choose real estate, or M&A, or banking finance, or securities, or Companies Act. You will build your portfolio, your thought leadership in that area. It's great for getting clients or internships or jobs. Works equally. Okay. All right, everybody. Any other questions? If you send any document by email, Abhishek, it's all by Gmail, it's already virus free, no? Gmail has antivirus scanners. 𝘬𝘶, what video editing skills you may need to use, graphics and pictures, where to learn from. Use Canva, CANVA, to design your thumbnails. They have great templates. If necessary, take a paid account, but the free account works great too. Okay, video editing skills, you don't usually need. You need basic trimming, which is there on the mobile phone. But if you need to do like a proper editing, timeline video wise, like, you know, you want to cut 2 seconds here, 3 seconds here, I suggest you do a full blown retake. Because if you get into editing and production, it will kill your time. Over time, when you get good, you can have an intern do this for you, who will record, edit, produce, and upload. Okay, first try to do a few yourself. Okay, what you need definitely is a light. Lighting needs to be good. So like right now, what I'm using in front of me is a TikTok light on a proper tripod. So this light has yellow and white colors, and it always illuminates things properly. Okay, even mics and web cameras are now inbuilt very good. So all that you don't need to invest in. That will be sufficient, 𝘬𝘶. Okay. All right. So for those who are going to come in the workshop, see you there. Abhishek, I'm not sure which tools is it showing warning. Don't spam people. Give them through a permission-based email marketing, which Wix also allows you. You can try this tool called MailChimp. Okay. MailChimp is there. 2,000 free subscribers are there in it before you move to a paid plan. Use that. So see you everybody, and in case you want to consider one of the libraries or figure out how you can upgrade your knowledge and skills by taking up a course, or how a course can help you, or any other career consultation, feel free to reach out to our team. Cheers and